And Radio Algeria International, our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
The President of the Arab Parliament has hailed the Algerian Parliament's participation in this parliamentary body through its remarkable activity and its effectiveness in strengthening Arab parliamentary cooperation. Iran has said that there is no plan yet to resume nuclear negotiations with the United States after US President Donald Trump announced talks next week. And the collective of Sahrawi human rights defenders in Western Sahara, CODESA, has called for international mechanisms to investigate the methods of torture used by the Moroccan occupation against Sahrawi civilians. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail from Radio Algeria International. First in our news, the President of the Arab Parliament, Mohamed Al-Yamahi, has hailed the Algerian Parliament's participation in this parliamentary body through its remarkable activity and its effectiveness in strengthening Arab parliamentary cooperation, according to a press release issued by the Council of the Nation. On behalf of the President of the Council of the Nation, Azzouz Nasri, a parliamentary delegation representing the Council of the Nation has taken part in committee meetings in preparation for the fifth closing session of the first session of the fourth legislature of the Arab Parliament, scheduled to take place in Cairo, Egypt, from the 26th to the 28th of June. On this occasion, the representatives of the Council of the Nation in the Arab Parliament held a meeting with the President of the Arab Parliament in the presence of Mohamed Khouane, Chairman of the Committee on Foreign Affairs Cooperation and the Community at the National People's Assembly, and Youssef Rahmania, Deputy at the Assembly as well. The Speaker of the National People's Assembly, Ibrahim Boughali, has received in Nouakchott the Mauritanian Minister of Foreign Affairs, Cooperation and Mauritanians Abroad, Mohamed Salim Wild Marzouk, as part of his official visit to the Islamic Republic of Mauritania, according to press release issued by the Lower House of Parliament. The meeting was an opportunity to reaffirm the historic and strategic nature of Algerian-Mauritanian relations and to welcome the diplomatic dynamic that bilateral relations are undergoing, thanks in particular to the shared political will to strengthen bilateral cooperation in various fields. The Minister Delegate to the Minister of National Defense, Chief of Staff of the National People's Army General Saad Chingriha, has presided over the graduation ceremony of the graduates of the Advanced War Studies course at the Higher War School, according to MDN press release. After the welcoming ceremony given by Major General Ali Sidan, commander of the 1st Military Region, and Major General Hamid Fakan, director of the school, the Army General observed a moment of meditation in memory of the late President Ali Kafi, whose name the school bears, before laying a wreath of flowers in front of the commemorative stone of the deceased and reciting the Fatiha from the Holy Quran in his memory and that of the valiant martyrs. The Army General then gave an orientation speech to the executives and trainee officers in which he referred to the major milestones achieved by the INP in the field of higher military training. To the Western Sahara file now, the International Observatory for Monitoring Natural Resources in Western Sahara has welcomed the reduction in 2024 of the list of clients purchasing phosphate from Western Sahara illegally exploited by the Moroccan occupier, urging the United Nations to create an administrative mechanism to monitor and manage the territory's natural resources pending the self-determination of the Sahrawi people. Western Sahara Resources Watch has never seen so few customers in a calendar year as in 2024, with only 4 importing companies, said the observatory in its latest report. More details with our colleague Said Bougazi.
In total, 26 vessels left occupied Western Sahara with 1.45 million tons of phosphate ore, down slightly from 1.6 million tons in 2023. The report shows that exports to Mexico and India account for 91% of the total trade in phosphate ore from occupied Western Sahara. 23 of the 26 ships that left the territory in 2024 were destined for these two countries. Although it is difficult to know the exact value of the current trade, Western Sahara Resource Watch estimates that it could be around $319 million for the year 2024. In the first year of systematic and continuous monitoring of cargo shipments in 2012, Western Sahara Resource Watch identified 15 importers. Today, most of these importers have stopped their purchases because of the mobilization of the Polisario Front, the sole legitimate representative of the Sahrawi people, whose action before the European courts has achieved convincing results, including the cancellation of 2 trade agreements linking the EU to Morocco because of the inclusion of Western Sahara, a separate and distinct territory from Morocco under international law. The Polisario Front is supported by some 40 international organizations, including Western Sahara Resource Watch, whose involvement in 2017 led to the blocking of ships carrying Sahrawi phosphate in the ports of Panama and the Cape of Good Hope. The NGO has repeatedly called on all companies involved in the trade to immediately halt all purchases and shipments of phosphate from Western Sahara until the conflict is resolved. According to Western Sahara Resource Watch, many former buyers have indicated that they do not wish to continue with these imports for reasons of international law or respect for human rights.
Still with the Western Sahara file, the collective of Sahrawi human rights defenders in Western Sahara, CODESA, has called for the establishment of an international mechanism to investigate the methods of torture used by the Moroccan occupation against Sahrawi civilians, denouncing the impunity of those responsible for acts constituting serious human rights violations. In a statement issued on the occasion of the International Day Against Torture, the collective condemned the continued torture and systematic repression of Sahrawi civilians linked to the confiscation of the Sahrawi people's right to self-determination, citing numerous cases of victims of crimes against humanity and serious human rights violations. Iran has said that there is no plan yet to resume nuclear negotiations with the United States after U.S. President Trump announced talks next week. Speculation about the resumption of negotiations should be taken seriously. I would like to make it clear that no agreement or arrangement has been reached to start new negotiations. There is no plan yet to start negotiations, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said on state television. On Wednesday, the U.S. president mentioned a possible resumption of negotiations in the near future. We will talk with Iran next week. We could sign an agreement, he said. A previous agreement reached between Iran and the major powers in 2015 to regulate Iran's nuclear program became null and void after the United States unilaterally withdrew in 2018 during Donald Trump's first term in office. And Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has described the damage caused to his country's nuclear facilities following the Zionist attack as significant, adding that Tehran had begun assessing the impact of the conflict. Experts from the Iranian Atomic Energy Organization are currently conducting a detailed assessment of the damage, he said on public television, adding that discussions to demand compensation for damage were now high on the government's agenda. While the International Atomic Energy Agency (IAEA) has requested access to Iranian sites to conduct its own damage assessment, Mr. Araghchi said his government was bound by the adoption of a law suspending cooperation with the UN agency. Shifting now to the Middle East now, the United Nations Special Rapporteur on the Right of Health, Taling Mofoking, has stated that it has become impossible to talk about the right of health in the Gaza Strip under the weight of the deadly attacks carried out by the Zionist occupation for 21 months now, adding that the humanitarian situation is getting worse every day. Saad Bougazi details.
During a press briefing held on the sidelines of her participation in the 59th session of the United Nations Human Rights Council in Geneva, Tlaleng Mofokeng referred to the catastrophic consequences of the genocide perpetrated by the Zionist entity, the occupying power, as well as the blockade imposed on the Gaza Strip, stating that it is now impossible to talk in any form whatsoever about the right to health in Gaza due to the massive violations committed by the Zionist occupier against the Palestinians. She explained that since the first day of the Zionist attacks, health facilities, healthcare personnel, and essential health supplies have been the target of repeated and deliberate attacks. She added, "The situation is getting worse every day. We now have food aid that is supposed to save lives from hunger and imminent death, but it is now being used by the occupier as a tool to target unarmed civilians trying to feed their families." Mofokeng Bank strongly condemned the Zionist entity's persistence in hindering the delivery of humanitarian aid to Gaza, saying they are witnessing a situation where humanitarian aid is being blocked and where UN agencies are being denied free and unhindered access to the occupied Palestinian territories to help the population. Finally, the UN official underlined that the UN and the international community have legal tools capable of preventing what is happening in the Gaza Strip.
And the Government Operations Room for Emergency Intervention in the Gaza Strip has announced the successful delivery of several humanitarian aid trucks to warehouses in northern Gaza. This achievement follows concerted field efforts and the coordination of various international partners. And finally, the A3 Plus group at the United Nations Security Council has reiterated in New York its strong support for the sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity of the Central African Republic, emphasizing the importance of national and local elections as a fundamental step forward or towards national and local elections as or strengthening democracy. In a statement on behalf of the A3 Plus group, Algeria, Somalia, Sierra Leone, and Guyana, the permanent representative of Guyana to the United Nations, Caroline Rodriguez-Piquet, reiterated the group's strong support for the sovereignty of the Central African Republic. With this, we come to the end of this news bulletin. Time now for our weekly programs. Today, we have a special program devoted to the celebration of Muharram, or the first day of the Hijr calendar, celebrated by the Muslims around the world, including in Algeria. And this will be followed by another program by my colleague Jamal Silmani. As for me, I'll meet you again tomorrow for a fresh edition of our news bulletin. Thank you, and bye-bye for now.